Hey, how's it going, everyone? And welcome back to our Lovecraft Country recap and review show where we break down the latest episodes of the new HBO hit series, Lovecraft Country. I'm, of course, your host, Griffin Schiller. And if this is your first time checking out one of our recaps, well, welcome. Hopefully you enjoy the ride. Be sure to leave us your thoughts and opinions on tonight's episode down in the comments section below. Give this video a like, share it with people if you're enjoying the content, and consider subscribing for more recaps and reviews of this show and other shows of that nature. But I don't do these alone. I am joined by two fantastic guests. First of all, Miss Gretchen Smail, staff writer over at Bustle. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm pretty all right. I'm not gonna lie. I said this exact same thing probably like 300 times to you guys, but like I understood Tenet. And I understood I'm thinking of ending things, but Lovecraft Country, for whatever reason, it's throwing a wrench in my ego here a little bit. So I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it, but it's okay. That's why I like doing these episodes, because we're able to sort of walk through it a little bit. But Emma, and then I'm also joined by Elliott from Movie Files. Elliott, how are you doing, buddy?
Good, man. Hey, the brains are scrambled right now from those two things that you said. So it's just like when you go into Lovecraft Country, you have to drink a potion to get your brains back together to understand all the craziness going on. But now, glad to be here to break down this very adventurous but very interesting episode, to say the least.
Yeah, and I think I was messaging you last night. Well, I was messaging both of you simultaneously, but I messaged you, Elliott, and I was like, as opposed to the previous episodes, this one to me just felt more like straightforward. There wasn't a whole lot below the surface here. I mean, you can obviously, the episode's called A History of Violence. I think you get a sense of the history of violence of Titus and the Sons of Adam in this episode, but I don't know. There was a lot that I enjoyed about it. I enjoyed the adventure stuff. I mean, everyone had basically been saying, "Oh, this is Indiana Jones in the Lovecraft universe," and they weren't wrong. It was honest to God. It was basically The Last Crusade, like beat by beat, the last act of that movie for sure. So there's a lot to dive into. But before we do that, let's sort of just give our overall thoughts and impressions on tonight's episode number 4, A History of Violence, as I previously mentioned. Elliott, starting with you, what were your overall thoughts, and did you like the episode?
Yeah, overall, I enjoyed the episode just from the simple nature of just from an entertainment value faces in regards to just you're on the ride. We get Montrose finally in the mix. He's been kind of in the back burner for a little bit. So seeing him kind of good guy, work, protecting his family or not. So I enjoyed the overall just entertainment value of the episode. But there were some questions that were still kind of left to be answered. And there were some, we talked about our previous reviews, but to me, this episode and this might sound really kind of small detail that I didn't like, but the music choices were just very jarring to me in this episode, like the hip hop songs with the Rihanna and all the Marilyn Manson, which I think thinking back of the Marilyn Manson song, I Put a Spell on You, kind of makes sense within that scene. But I don't know, overall fun time. There were just some moments where I'm just kind of scratching my head, but overall thought I enjoyed it for the most part.
I'm scratching my head at why they're so obsessed with Marilyn Manson. I guess that's just kind of the weird thing there. But anyways, Gretchen, what were your overall thoughts of the episode, and did you like it?
Yeah, I felt the same way as Elliott. This was probably my favorite episode out of the 5 I've seen. I'm a sucker for adventure tales. Like, I really love Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider, Uncharted, all those things. So this was the first time I realized that I have seen someone who's not white, raiding tombs, and it added an interesting perspective for me, because it's like they're not doing this just because they're sticking their nose in other people's cultures. They're doing it because they're trying to survive. So that was it was interesting, and I realized how often we don't give that genre to people who aren't white. So I really loved that aspect of it. I loved the way Leti jumped into everything. I loved the tension between Montrose and Tic. I also had questions at the end. I still have issues with some of the editing, the lack of establishing shots, and the way they reveal some of the information. But I really overall liked this episode a lot.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing that you and I were sort of touching on, just kind of as we were texting back and forth throughout the episode was, I feel like the pieces are almost there, but there is a lack of establishing what's sort of going on. There's a lot of haphazard editing and whatnot. And then also the yeah, I guess like the music choices are weird and the structure, and there's I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of information that they're conveying and they're not necessarily conveying it in the best way. So structurally, and really this is the show as a whole, I feel like structurally it's not quite working for me. But the thing I did like about this episode is that it was a direct continuation from the previous one, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas like 2 to 3, it didn't flow as well as it should have. This one was definitely like, okay, now I kind of have a general sense of where the story is going. They're trying to find these lost pages so that they can they can retrieve it, so that Tic can learn more like magical abilities, and you know, Christina has her motives behind wanting the pages, probably to control the other lodges, because in this episode we find out that there are 34 other lodges as part of the Sons of Adam, I assume. And so yeah, I mean, there's sort of a lot going on here in that, but I feel like the vision is overall a little bit more clear, even though I still have questions.
Yeah.
But let's sort of like touch on the quest element here, because what you brought up, Gretchen, which is what I liked. Usually when we have these, you know, adventure type movies, they're literally like raiding other people's history for their own gain or whatever. Whereas like this one, it's more so for survival, and it's more so like uncovering the truth behind the, you know, atrocities that were sort of committed against their people or other, you know, indigenous people and whatnot. And so I don't know, to me that was some of the more interesting stuff here. It was sort of like a nice commentary on colonization and stuff like that as they kind of get through, and then we see I forget the character's name, the two-spirit
Yahima.
Yahima, yeah. And I think a lot of that starts to come through there. But yeah, Gretchen, I guess starting with you, what did you sort of make of the whole like quest side of it and whatnot?
Well, I liked it a lot again, and I think it shows. I think again it goes back to like Tic being this chosen protagonist who's willing to forge ahead, and you see Leti is like ready to jump in with him, and I really like the aspect of, meanwhile, I think George used to be the third, you know, person who was willing to always jump in and explore and figure this out, but Montrose adds a very different aspect to this whole thing because he doesn't want to go on this journey with them.
Right.
He is emphatically not an adventurer, and in fact he is begging Tic to not do any of this because he thinks that doing this will further antagonize Christina. And he, I think, is hoping that by not doing anything, she'll just leave them alone. But we know, I mean, Tic and Leti know that Christina is not going to leave them alone. She's definitely gunning for them. So it's just an interesting relationship at play when they go on this adventure, and then the adventure itself, it's just fun, you know. I love it. Like we've seen it 5 million times. I mean, I literally just watched Dora the Explorer movie.
Oh yeah.
It felt like, I mean, it was just like, I know exactly what's going to happen in this. You know, it's like, you know that there's going to be something they press and all of a sudden something's going to happen. But I love it. Like, you could do that over and over again for me, and I would still be like, oh my God, there's a secret password that like opens the door. So I loved it.
No, I agree with you. That it was fun, especially when they were like, you know, unlocking the different rooms, and then it was like the walk of faith or whatever it was is basically from the Last Crusade and stuff. That was a lot of fun.
And they made it funny, like they were yelling at each other, and he's like, "It's dissolving," and Letty's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, oh my God! Like,
oh no, that was my favorite part. I think that was my favorite line in the whole film, or sorry, the whole episode was when they finally opened the door, and the Montrose is like, "Jesse Owens ain't got shit on me." I was like, "Yes, I love that." That was so good. I agree. I think this was the funniest episode, and I loved the interaction between all of the characters. Like, I feel like everyone feels more confident in who they are, especially Leti. You know, last week's episode was so important in sort of bolstering her up and having her become her own person. And you see that carried over beautifully here. I mean, she's really just like sort of taking control of things. And I think the thing that I liked was she sort of like, she threw this like line back at Tic, but when he's sort of like complaining about it, it's like, oh, this is my burden, like I have to do this, and she's like, you're not the only one like suffering here. You're not the only person going through all of this. And I feel like that was like, it was so important because Tic just sort of like, he looks at her and he sort of like thinks on it, and I think she kind of puts him in his place, which I really liked. But yeah, Elliott, going over to you.
Yeah, no, just again, you guys hit it on the head in regards to just, the show doesn't, even though this is a much lighter in tone, it's a different, change of pace, but it still has those, important messages that they have within this journey that they go on. But just on the face value, it is a fun episode in regards to the journey. Again, Pirates of the Caribbean, the journey to the center of the earth. I think of Nickelodeon's The Legend of the Hidden Temple. I kind of bring back some of those vibes. So it was just fun. And also, you guys have mentioned, we've seen it a million times, just like we've seen the coming of age, whether it be Booksmart or Superbad, but it's the characters. When you love the characters, you're having fun with them, you can see them do the same beats, but it's just you're invested in them because you love the journey that they're on, because you love the characters. So a lot of fun, great lines. Just, I love an adventurous type of thing. And I think that these characters just make it that much more exciting because I'm invested in their stories.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it might be. I think episode 1 is still my favorite, but this one, just because of what it was, and because it was a lot of fun, even though I got sort of like confused in the mythology and stuff like that, and what's exactly happening there. I feel as though the episode itself, I was like, I could like go back and just watch that episode in and of itself, and it's really a fun, self-contained adventure thing. But I want to touch on Montrose because that's where the episode starts, and he's sort of having like a breakdown of what to do, and he like burns this book and whatnot. So what do you guys think is sort of going on with him? Because we learn a lot about him in this episode, but there's still like there's a few things that aren't quite clear with him. So I guess, Elliott, starting with you, what do you sort of make of Montrose and what's going on there?
Yeah, man, I think he's still suffering with, obviously it's been, I assume the timeline has been about a month and a half since he lost his brother. So that's still weighing on him, and he probably has some type of, regret of getting his son and now his brother involved, and him losing his brother. But then we were talking about it briefly too yesterday, Griffin, with struggling with who he is as a person. We'll talk about it later in regards to, is he potentially a gay character? With Seymour's thing that he talked about and the guy at the bartender. So I think there's just a lot going on in his head from trying to protect his family. As he said, Uncle George, he promised him his dying wish was to protect the family. So it's just like he's battling with losing his brother, sexuality potentially, getting involved with the Sons of Adam. So there's just a lot going on in his head. And again, I don't know what the text meant in the laws, the bylaws of the Order of the Dawn, the Ancient Dawn, where he was reading that. I don't know what that means, but I think Montrose we're finally kind of we're peeling the onions off of the character and really kind of understand where he's at. And also I'm very excited to see his relationship with Dora and seeing how that all played out with Tic's mom. But yeah, I'm Michael K. Williams. He's fantastic. So I'm glad that he's finally getting more to do in the show.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly loving just like his performance and like his character in general. But I'm glad you brought up the bartender thing, because while it might not seem like it was important for them to show that scene in the first episode with him with another guy, I think, with the information we know now and with Montrose, I feel like that was very purposeful and sort of alluding to the sexuality of this character and possibly feeling like he's not, like Tic isn't like his son, I feel like there's going to be some interesting like revelation there where like he's just been a what do you call it? I guess like a surrogate father or something like that for him the whole time. And it might be one of those things where he's just like the relationship between the two is a little rocky because of that and such. But I guess, Gretchen, going over to you, what do you think is sort of going on with Montrose?
Yeah, I think it's everything Elliott said. And then on top of that, he does have basically PTSD from an abusive childhood. He is alcoholic. And I actually spoke to Michael K. Williams at a round table, and he said all of that just kind of gets mashed up with Montrose. And he is ultimately always trying to protect Tic, but it's a mess. Like, he doesn't know how to express his love in a way that's not destructive with his son. Like, he basically has the generational trauma, and it sounds like he also beat Tic too. So they don't have a good relationship. And on top of that, it's been like a fan theory that people don't really know if he came back the same after he was imprisoned by Samuel and Christina, like on top of all of his trauma, like did they do anything to him so that even unconsciously is he like burning the book, so it's making it harder for Tic to find things? Or did he kill Yahima because it would make it difficult for Tic? Like, it's really hard to tell at this point if it's all just him protecting his son or he's being compelled by Christina.
Right.
And that just makes him super interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And that's the other thing is like the entire episode, it feels like he knows more than he's letting on, and Tic and Leti know that he knows more than he's letting on, and even to the point where like Tic's like, well, why are you here? Why, if you already know all of this, why are you taking us through this, and why are you on this adventure with us? And I feel like it might be a little bit of like him battling with the fact that he wants to sort of redeem himself and be a better parental figure and be there for Tic and protect him, but also like protecting the family, maybe being controlled by like Christina and Samuel or something like that. But I think that's an interesting theory because there's something sort of off about him, right? And I don't know if that is just his PTSD or just the way his character is, but it is I don't know, it's something that I'm really interested in seeing explored in future episodes. And yeah, no, for sure. And I guess that's the big question, the big cliffhanger at the end of this episode is like, why did he kill Yahima? Because to me, and you actually brought this up, Gretchen, I'm glad you did when you were texting me. It felt like her character was so unnecessary and it just was wasteful at the end. And then he kills her and it's like, well, okay. And I felt like it just kind of unnecessarily convoluted some of this stuff there. But I guess going to you first, Gretchen, what do you think was like his rationale behind killing her?
I think as soon as he learned that Yahima could translate the pages, he thought, well, if she's dead, there's no way Tic can maybe learn magic and fight Christina and potentially die. So I think maybe in his, muddled mind that made sense. But at the same time, I don't know if that's a hugely compelling plot point. I think it was pretty egregious to bring in like one indigenous character only to kill her off. Because if we're talking about representation, like indigenous people are like the furthest on the rung. And, she really was just there for aesthetic reasons, unless they bring her back. Because we know, like the one other plot point is there's an orrery floating out there that Hippolyta has that apparently can time travel. So maybe she will come back. But as of right now, it just felt like this ridiculous, like why?
Yeah, why even do that?
Why have her naked and reveal she's like intersex, like two-spirit? Like why kill her in that way? It felt really out of nowhere.
It was very, very confusing. And I think like, I don't know, I feel like maybe his motivations could have been like he doesn't want to lose his son to like who he really is. Like, the magical heritage or whatever. Yeah. And he feels like by killing her, then I guess it's going back to the whole protection thing. But then again, you bring up the Christina fact, like maybe she's like, doing all this stuff. But then again, like, why would she control him and tell him to do that when, she wants like, I guess, I don't know. Elliott, what do you sort of make of this?
Yeah, no, that's the big question. And, a hell of a way to end an episode, right? But yeah, it's so many things to kind of consider in that moment. Is he protecting his son, protecting his family? Is he working for the Sons of Adam? Does he have his own intentions to do something with this power maybe? Or again, we established in this episode, again, he knows more than he's leading on with the library scene. He's been reading the same books that Tic has. So maybe in a weird way, it's helping. I don't know. It is a very interesting prospect in regards to bringing in that character and then killing the character off and having Montrose being the one to do so. Because now it just opens the door. Like, okay, how does he explain how its own throat or what happened there? So a lot of opening up the cans of worms, to say the least. So very, like I said, a great way to end the episode to make you want to come back to figure out what the hell is going on. So
yeah, for sure. And I guess that sort of leads back to the fact, like, what are these pages? What is their purpose? What do they do? Why are they written in an indigenous language? Like that's just, there's a lot of sort of questions sort of circling this MacGuffin sort of element. Gretchen, do you have any theories on that?
No, I do. I don't. I was puzzling through it when you were texting me. So my understanding is, right, that they only have the Sons of Adam Lodge only has one page that they've been basing all their spells off of. And then there was the Winthrop guy, right, that had his own pages.
Right.
And so we are assuming maybe the other 34 lodges have their own pages too. So, I think. I mean, I don't.
I mean, I guess that's true. So okay, so I guess the missing pages that they got were those. Who did those belong to? Were those?
I think those are Titus's pages.
Those are Titus's
and it sounds
pages.
like a bunch of guys just ripped out different pages from the Book of Names. I missed it. I'm not entirely clear now where the Book of Names is, the full one.
Yeah.
People have theories that it's Tic's ancestor that has it, Hannah, I think her name was, when she was running through the house. Yeah, and everything was on fire. You see her running with a book. So maybe she took it from Titus's house and now it's somewhere in the wind. I don't know. That's a plot point that it flew over my head. Maybe I didn't hear the dialogue, but I don't know what those are.
That's the J.J. Abrams rearing its ugly head in this. Elliot, do you have any theories, thoughts, or anything?
Well, I guess it was interesting, and I kind of forgot about this scene, so I kind of was half watching it the other night, just kind of refreshing myself. The scene where Christina goes to see that cop who has his own lodge. There was someone in the closet. I don't know if they have their own person that can read the scriptures, or I don't know who's in the closet. I don't know if that's something.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up because that was immediately what I thought. I feel like maybe the purpose of showing Yahima was that each one of these like leaders they have their own like slave who is able to read this, and then I feel like that makes it even more twisted and just like creepy and fucked up. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just again, that's the through line, right? It's just those pages. Even though we get a haunted house episode, a road trip episode, that is the continued thread line of the importance of the pages. And once you translate it, does that mean you have all the power of the magic? Are you the number one house of all the lodges? Do they report to you? So it's just I guess I'm still kind of confused on the significance of these pages and what what the goal is of when you obtain the pages.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I will say in the book, in Matt Ruff's novel, this chapter where they go on this adventure, it's basically to get an entire book. And it's Montrose, Tic, and George, and they get the book and then they're going to keep it for themselves, but then they end up handing it over to like Caleb, the Christina in the book. So he gets an entire book. So I wonder if the reason they've split it up into pages and told us there's 34 lodges is because they really are planning to do, several seasons of this, and we have to find all the pages. And the end goal is to put it together and have a powerful book that does we don't know what yet. But
right.
My interpretation.
Yeah. That is interesting. I guess it would. I mean, you're right. It would make sense. They got to kind of like stretch it out for like as long as they possibly can.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I guess that's sort of the great jumping off point into Christina and everything that's going on with her. Because like while she sort of like sets them on their path and whatever, she's kind of got her own thing going on. She goes to the sorry, I'm blanking on the name of that one house. She goes to visit that officer, I guess, in the house and everything, and he basically says, you're not one of the sons of Adam because you're like a woman or whatever, and so then that causes her to listen. I think we all know that this is happening. That causes her to change into
William.
William. Thank you. And so I feel like that's sort of an interesting sort of thing that's going on there, is how she has to utilize. I mean, granted, we don't know how she's doing this. Some of us do, but we don't know how she's doing this. But she has to utilize some sort of ability to turn into a man in order to, I guess, get her way or something. I don't know, but I guess the big picture here is what's going on with Christina. What do we think her sort of mission is right now, and did you like how they sort of integrated her story arc throughout the course of this episode? Elliot, let's start with you.
Yeah, she's the big mystery too for me, because it's just like, okay, so far in the 4 episodes, we've seen that she is willing to kill her father, which she did in the 2nd episode. We see that she has some type of control over the I can't think of the proper names of the monsters, but starts with the S. But the creatures that we saw in episode 1, she's giving birth to them and she can control them. So it seems like she's kind of building her own type of path, and going off the path of Samuel, her father. And again, her obtaining this pages and this power, I don't know if it's for the good of the cause or if she's just again the overarching villain that wants world domination. I'm not sure what the overall thing is with Christina, but so far she's just a mystery box. Again, just thinking of the scene where she's playing it or tag with the kids, and I don't know what that was. It's like was she kidnapping? I don't know, but and then like her driving the streets. Christina's just a very mysterious character so far for me. I don't know if I enjoy the character, if I not. It's just she's a question mark. So a lot of questions about her.
Yeah, I feel like in terms of her just motivation, I feel like it is very personal because she's been basically wronged by this organization or cult her entire life just because she's a woman. Mm-hmm. So maybe her getting these pages and like creating her own faction in order to like dismantle the establishment or whatever and build her new following or whatever, that kind of makes a little more sense to me. And she has to use this, transformative, like she has to use transforming into William in order to get there. I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. There is a lot sort of like to dissect there. Gretchen, do you have any answers for us?
No answers, but I think my big question is if she still wants to open the door to the Garden of Eden. Because we saw that in the second episode, and there was that scene where like he's explaining how humanity fell because Eve ate the apple, and she's really snarky about it to him. So I wonder if because she's been treated really poorly all her life for being a woman, I think the scene with the kids shows that maybe she's been imprisoned in Artem her whole life. She's never been allowed to play with people her age or form friendships. I wonder if that makes her bitter enough to want to basically undo everything the Sons of Adam have done, which is maybe use the orrery she's looking for, go back in time, or open the gate to Eden and, I don't know, make sure it's Eve who inherits the earth and not Adam.
I was literally about to say, do you think that she's going to go back in time and like switch it around so that like Adam is the one who eats the apple and not Eve?
Yeah. The Adam and Eve theme through line has been very consistent throughout the show, and I think that is something that they really want to potentially tie into and change and alter, like you said, the past and change things around. So that's a very interesting concept to say the least.
And I think it's just a very personal thing for her. I don't think she's doing it because she's trying to like save womankind. No. She's just doing it because it would be the biggest FU to her dad. And she doesn't really care who she uses along the way. Makes her terrifying.
Well, again, I think it is. I think again, her entire MO is just like she's been wronged, and so she wants to get revenge. I mean, that's really it. She doesn't have deeper motivations than that, nor does she really have to. But I am curious, what do you guys think is sort of going on with her using Leti's sister? She's already set them out like going on their own journey in order to retrieve these pages for her. What is the purpose of that, I guess?
Well, I definitely another form, like Gretchen said, just another form of manipulation. It's if she can't really get on the side of Tic and Leti, then let's go for the family. Let's go for the extended family. We know right now Ruby's kind of in a not desperate, but she's in a position where she's looking for a job, and now she has this potentially romantic relationship with William, aka Christina. So I think it's just her way in of romancing Ruby and potentially getting a way to break that spell so she can actually go into the house and she'll find out that the Ori isn't there. But I think it's just it's just her form of just using someone to get in that house, get what she needs, and just manipulate the situation as she's been doing thus far.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. I completely forgot about the fact that she couldn't go into the house. That was the big thing. She went to the house and Leti was like, and then she hit the force field. So I agree. I think it is, manipulation in order to like, get in there and whatnot. But I don't know, Gretchen, did you have any more to add to that?
No, because I don't want to say anything that's in episode 5. I know. So Ruby is the focus of episode 5. I don't want to say any more than that, but I will say I did not catch on that she was William in episode 4. So I'm shocked that you guys are saying this.
I think
it is William.
The thing for me was just we never see them in the same scene ever in this entire show so far. And it's just like, I don't know, the way that William kind of speaks, and it's this very kind of like, kind of like I just, and plus it helped that someone in one of the comments said, I think that this might be William, and it just kind of made my head start spinning. I'm like, yeah, we haven't seen the same scene, blonde hair.
Yeah, like that was the thing to me. It was like since episode 2, I was like, oh, they have to be the same person. Like they look entirely too identical for them not to be. Plus, they're never in the same room.
Yeah.
But then I guess the question is like, maybe there was a William and she killed him,
right?
And then she takes his form in order to like when she was in the house in order to interact with her father and get like the special treatment or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, that to me is like the only thing where I was like, oh well, maybe they're two different people, but I think in this episode specifically, when she goes into the house and we see her walk in, and then it's just like sort of sitting there in the yard for like a couple seconds or so, and then William walks out. I'm like, okay, they're the same person.
Yeah.
Like she's not just gonna walk in
Yeah.
and then just say, hey, you should go walk out and take care of these guys over here. Like that's it's just too convenient.
Is there any significance to that house that we saw that moment, and also we saw? I assume that was the house that William and Ruby had sex. Is there any significance to that particular house that we know of quite yet? That where that location has any importance?
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know yet. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe
At first I was thinking like, they didn't just walk into Leti's house, because again that force field would have stopped William or Christina walking in. So I'm just like, what house are they going to right now? What's the significance of this house? So I guess it's just they're rich. They have a house in Chicago, and it's just a rental house. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm right. I mean, it's her temporary base basically, because her home was destroyed or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess the other thing that we probably should touch on is what's going on with George's wife and daughter. Yeah, Hippolyta, yeah, and his daughter, because we see them sort of going off on their own towards the end of the episode, and then she's like, well, what are you doing with that? That's George's map or whatever, and then she grabs it, and then it zooms in on the what's the name? It begins with a D. It's like the David.
Oh, Devon County.
Devon County.
Yeah, Devon County. What's happening there?
Well, it's clear that she. I think I don't remember what Montrose and Tic told her.
I think they told her that the sheriff of town shot, or they got into some confrontation, which, not to derail the, but I will say that there are some like convenient things that the show hasn't addressed yet, like the fact that there were 4 police officers that are missing that are killed. There are 3 people that are missing that were killed in episode 3. So the show really hasn't addressed like what happened. People are dead. There's no one like.
Well, we see one of the guys that went missing. One of her
all
neighbors
the way down to the museum. Yeah. Another plot point: the huge tunnel.
Right, the huge tunnel and the elevator, which I assume leads to
Leti's house.
Letty's house.
Yeah,
I mean,
like in Boston, that makes no sense to me at all.
I know that
Chicago to Boston. Magic.
I don't know. I guess, I mean, before we kind of move on to the elevator part of it, yeah, I guess sort of. Do you think that she's going there to try and like get revenge or something like that, or
to get answers at least?
Yeah. Answers, yeah.
Definitely Hippolyta's character. She obviously loved George very much, and you get the hint that she's very much an adventurer too. In episode 1, she wanted to go on this trip, and George was like, "Oh no, you need to stay safe." So it seems like now with George gone, we're going to see Hippolyta a lot more in the plot, which is exciting to me. I don't know what she's going to find in Artem. I feel like she's going to go there and the whole thing is just going to be gone. Like, I don't, and what is she going to do? She can't, I'm worried that if she goes to Devon County and starts asking about cops, they're going to be like, well, they're missing. Do you know anything about that? So that's concerning.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even if she just steps foot inside the county, I mean, she risks, being shot. Right. It's a sundown town. So like she's fucked. So I feel like in one of the episodes, probably not episode 5, because you said that deals with primarily Ruby. Maybe towards the end of that, and in episode 6, we'll get more of what's going on there. And then I don't know, someone's either they have to make it out alive, or someone's gonna have to come in and save them, like Deus Ex Machina or something like that. But I guess let's move on to the tunnels then, and the elevator. Does that connect to the house? And if so, how? Like, I don't.
Magic.
Any clue?
It's magic. Yeah, just like Tic said.
I guess that's the thing. It's just like
it's Batman.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I felt like it was very purposeful that the end of episode 3 showed the elevator going all the way down. to the ground floor and showing the bodies down there and the tunnel. So I mean, that elevator has to be the elevator that goes up to Leti's house, correct?
Yeah, I think again, I don't know the significance of that Ori, but I think they establish a two suns, two worlds, parallel worlds maybe, and that kind of plays into that mythology maybe, that again, they're in Chicago, but they're able to transport to, the house is connected to Boston. So I assume that Ori is very important to the mythology and where things are connected and how they can be able to go from one state to another within an elevator ride. So I think there's some significance to that, and that secret room may have some magical abilities as well. So
right, Gretchen.
Yeah, I wonder if the Winthrop house is a lodge. Like, that's something I wasn't clear about, is because Hiram had his own pages there. Was that his lodge? And that's why Christina couldn't get the Ori. And if that's the case, does that mean that tunnel then connects maybe the other 34 lodges? Is that a tunnel they can just kind of go in and out of? Like, how do you press the elevator and say, take me to the subterranean,
right.
Like, I wonder if she can go back.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I feel like there were so many different like tunnels they could have gone down, and they just happened to go to the tunnels that led to the ship. But I mean, I would have to imagine that it is sort of the linking point for all of the lodges, if we are to believe that the Winthrop house is a lodge, which I don't know. I guess that makes sense. It would probably make sense as to why Christina can't get inside the house. If that's the case, then she probably can't get inside any of the other lodges either. And so maybe these missing pages will like give her access in order to like get into them. I have no idea. And then,
she can't get inside because of the goat's blood.
Oh, right.
Until
the
Ruby
enchantress. Proper term for this,
right.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why she can't get. So, that unravels your theory a little bit.
Okay, no, that's fine. Listen, I'm the clueless one here. I'm the one that's like still trying to piece this thing together. So I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, so it was just the.
And I mean, again, going back to this show, just having so much historical accuracy and representing Black stories, it could be an underground railroad to some certain extent in regards to connective tissues. And I'm just saying connective tissues of like communication, and maybe that's where Hannah may be stationed at, or what have you. It was a safe haven at one point, and is now being used again. Titus and them took the underground and made it into the lodge's hub or a highway of some sort. So again, this show just touches on so many different layers and levels, even so much so we forgot to mention last week in regards to they made it very apparent in this episode, the Bobo character is Emmett Till. So like little things of that nature, bringing in a very tragic situation that went on in the 50s and having that character. So this show again just hits on so many different levels, literally. Levels of the elevator. But maybe there's some connective tissue there.
Damn it, this is why I like having people smarter than me on this, because for whatever reason the Underground Railroad sort of analogy just like went over my head when I think it's like pretty front and center and obvious now that I think about it. So
and Misha Green also worked on Underground before, so could be also being reference to her old work.
All right. I'm seeing the connections here. Okay, I guess, was there anything else that you guys wanted to touch on before we start to wrap this up?
Looking through my notes, no. Again, we talked about it. The music choice, I thought the score was really cool. Again, very adventurous score, Indiana Jones score. The soundtrack was just so out of place to me. But that Marilyn Manson song, again, when I think about the song, which was titled "I Put a Spell on You," again hints towards the William Christina theory of a spell being on Christina to be able to take this form. So
right, Gretchen.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see what Hippolyta does with the Ori. Like, I just really want to get to that scene from the trailers where she's like an ancient Egyptian garb. Like, that looks amazing. And I just wanted to reiterate that Michael K. Williams is amazing. And I loved his acting down in the tunnels. You could see how scared he was for himself and for his son. And he just like, I feel so bad for him. Like, even though he did something terrible at the end, I love his character. So
I guess before I forget, do we think that Montrose is gay? Is that?
Oh,
is
yeah.
that okay.
Yeah, I think so. I wish they hadn't hinted at that again with Tic, right when he's like looking for the tomb, because I think it gets lost. But like you can see Tic pause, and he's really like thrown by the thought that his father is, like he calls him a sissy. So yes, I think that is something we'll explore, and it's a nice way of like exploring, like it already explores racism, sexism, and now we're going into like homophobia. So I think it's a really thoughtful show.
Yeah, that's right. It definitely has a lot on its mind. Yeah, no, I don't think I have too much to add. I think we covered basically all the bases here. But it's I love doing these because I feel like I have a better understanding of the episode after watching them. I'm just like, oh, okay, I get it now, even though I'm an idiot. But I get it. It's starting to piece together. And I don't know. I do want to also the last sort of thing I want to bring up is the sequence where they meet Yahima for the first time, and she sort of like transforms into like the human form. Oh my God, that was so great. I think that's something I know during these shows we don't necessarily talk enough about, but the creature design and like the quality of it is so good. And that was like, it reminded me straight up of Guillermo del Toro. It was,
100%.
It was amazing. I don't know. Well, I guess for you guys, are you satisfied with the use of monsters or the amount of monsters we're seeing? Because I know for me, I am satisfied, but I am a little surprised that we're not getting more Lovecraft mythology and lore sort of incorporated into the show. I don't know if you guys have anything to add on that. Gretchen, starting with you.
I think it's fine. Like acknowledging that it's based off of Matt Ruff's book, which isn't very much about cosmic horror. I mean, there's definitely monsters, but you also get the human variety of monsters a ton. So I don't know if it would stretch the scenes of the story too much, literally having like, a giant like floating tentacle monster in the air while there's a racist chasing you. I've seen on Reddit that that's like one of the main complaints is people are really upset that it doesn't have more cosmic horror, but I don't know. I think it fits for what it is, but that's just my personal speed.
Well, but do you think that maybe it's a little bit of false advertising then?
I think if people don't read the book or don't know it's based off of Matt Ruff's book, it is. Like, again, with Reddit, people are really mad on that website that it's not H.P. Lovecraft. But I think if they read even one article, they would see it's based off another man's book who is only referencing Lovecraft's works. So, yeah, I mean, maybe there's space in later episodes for it to get really weird. And for them to actually bring in, like, the huge monsters that were, like, in Tic's dream. But I think as of right now, they're just trying to survive. Like, they cannot fight something huge, like what he imagines in his first, dream in the first episode. So, we'll see.
Before we get to you, Elliott, I think the one thing for me that was a little disappointing is I wanted more, I guess like maybe have like a creature like in the tunnels or something like that felt that felt like the appropriate time to maybe throw. I mean, you don't have to necessarily use Cthulhu, but like maybe some of the other Lovecraftian monsters and where it's
bring the Shoggoths back in from the first, second episode. No,
100%, and I feel like it's not bothering me personally because I'm enjoying the story that they're telling, but it is something where it's like, okay, maybe we can sort of lean a little bit more into the creature horror. Like I would be okay with, like you were saying, like the cosmic horror elements sort of rearing their heads in the back half of the season. Because it's not like the horror elements aren't there. I mean, literally last week we had a haunted house episode, and the week beforehand it was like weird cults and shit. And then the first one was definitely like, okay, we're seeing the monsters. So it's like they're there. I just don't feel like I'm wanting maybe just a little bit more of them. But yeah, Elliott, I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
Yeah, no, just from watching a lot of TV, I just look at it more as a logistical thing where it's probably like for budgetary reasons, they can't have a big CGI creature or monster appear on every
This is HBO, though.
It is HBO, but we all know, that budget goes to, Game of Thrones, the dragons, and all this
They gave it to Raised by Wolves.
Exactly. There you go. Or Barry season 3 is going to be like a
Westworld. Listen,
Westworld, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, budgetarily wise, and also too, I think Misha Green, what she really wants to establish, at least in the first half of the season, is the care for the character. So, like Gretchen said, when we get to the second half, when we see more creatures potentially, we're so invested in these characters, and the stakes are so much higher because we care for these characters. I mean, look how people reacted to losing George in the second episode.
That's
so
true,
imagine,
yeah.
I mean, I would not want this to happen, but imagine losing Leti or Atticus in episode 8 or 9 or the finale. It'll just have that much more impact when we have loved these characters and we see these monsters that they face on a human level, but on a literal level. So I think it's just a matter of just building the tension and building to the grandioso monsters and creatures towards the second half of the season.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point because we still don't. I feel like we still need an episode focused solely on Tic. There's still a lot there that I think we sort of need to unravel.
The war. What happened in the war? And the woman
Yeah.
that he called in episode 1 and the woman that came out of the closet. So it's there's still that aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm hoping maybe we get that in like 6 or 7 or something like that. I just feel like they're purposefully holding off on it for a reason because it's like we got the Leti episode, we understand her, we got the George episode. Next week we're getting the Ruby episode and stuff like that. And Montrose is sort of like he's a secondary character, so it's like we're getting him sort of throughout. I'm waiting for that Tic episode. I just feel like there's a lot there.
I'm thinking, I don't know why I'm thinking of Watchmen, but I'm thinking of Hooded Justice reveal in episode 7 into the season.
Yeah.
So I think that will be maybe a Tic-centric war episode of what his demons are. So yeah.
Right. Well, and that could be a great opportunity to incorporate the monsters because we saw those in his dream. And so maybe like in this weird sort of cosmic way, metaphorical way, they're able to incorporate them in there in order to just heighten Tic's time in the war or God knows what. So I don't know. There's a lot to sort of dissect and go through here. We're only scratching the surface. We're only in episode 4. Are we halfway through? Is it only 8 episodes or is it 10?
10, right? I thought it was 10. If I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember.
Okay. Well, we're almost halfway through, whether it's this week or next week. But guys, the most important thing is, what did you all think? Did you enjoy the episode? What are all your thoughts, your theories, speculation, all about that? Let us know down in the comment section below. Thank you to my 2 panelists for joining me. As always, Elliott, Gretchen. Elliott, where can everyone find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, and there is 10 episodes. October 18th, season finale is titled Full Circle. So we'll excited to, a month from now to break down that episode. But yeah, Gretchen, Griffin, it's always a pleasure to break it down and have this therapy session and talking about Lovecraft. I always appreciate these sessions and these conversations. So, but yeah, guys, you can find me on YouTube covering shows like this, movies. More recently, got the chance to cover a lot of films for the Fantasia Film Festival. Finally saw Tenet, talked about that recently, and a lot of other things coming pretty soon. So check me out there, subscribe to the channel, and also on social media accounts, Instagram at Movie Files, Twitter at Movie Files Live. So hope to see you guys there.
Yeah, and I'm actually really curious as to how your experience was seeing Tenet, because you saw it at a drive-in. Drive-in.
Yeah,
which
man.
is, I after seeing it in an IMAX theater, I can't imagine what that experience must have been like.
Unique.
So we're gonna have a chat about that later. But anyways, Gretchen, thank you for joining me. Where can everyone find you?
I'm on Twitter at Gretchen_Smail, but Twitter's terrible. So you can also follow me on You can also follow me on Buffalo. I did roundtables with a lot of the Lovecraft Country people, so they're slowly rolling out week over week. So let's keep an eye out for those.
Yeah, just skip the whole Twitter thing. Just go straight to her articles on Bustle. It's just way better. Yeah.
I mean, literally, Lovecraft creatures are on Twitter. So yeah, you can find a lot of those monsters on Twitter if you're looking for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, definitely go give them a follow and whatnot. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like this video, share it with your Lovecraft Country loving friends, and subscribe to the FilmSpeak channel so you don't miss another recap and review of Lovecraft Country and all the other great film and television centric content we have coming out here. We like to say the conversation continues after the credits, and so we'd like you to join us in that conversation. You can like FilmSpeak on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, just search FilmSpeak, and if you like me specifically and you like what I have to say, you can give me a follow on Twitter at Griff Schiller. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this recap of Lovecraft Country, episode number 4, season 1, titled The History of Violence, and we will catch you next week. Take care.